This is Citizen Weekend with Olive Barrows.
Good evening. This is Citizen Weekend, and we have the latest on a developing story, and that is that 15 lives have been lost in a road accident involving a 14-seater PSV and a lorry on the Nyeri Mwega Road. We will have more information for you in the course of this news hour, and tonight we're getting into the price that Kenya is paying for the war in Iran. We're discussing fuel, we're discussing exports with my panel of experts. We have Kwame Owino, who is the CEO of IEA, that is the Institute of Economic Affairs. We also have Churchill Ogutu, who is an economist with the IC Group. And we also have joining us a man, an old hand at this business, and his name is Patrick Obath, who is the chair of the KEPSA Foundation and vice chair of the International Chamber of Commerce. What do you have lined up for us, Emmanuel?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you here again. A lot to get into in this bulletin. In the sports at the end, we also have a lot to talk about. We have Kenya Shujaa, who are shooting out at the moment in Brazil in the HSBC Sevens 2 tournament, and also some check-up on the Harambee Stars to see what they're getting up to as well.
All right. Stay tuned. The highlights.
We have now established that the bodies are more than the ones that the court had ordered. The people who are responsible, some of whom have already been arrested.
Kericho mass grave probe. 4 more people arrested, bringing the number of those behind bars to 6, as police narrow into secret burial of 33 bodies. Outrage over fertilizer shortage. Hundreds of farmers stranded as war on Iran occasions fertilizer supply crisis.
If they wanted to challenge the will, they should have challenged it then. They didn't. And they were given the opportunity in court before a judge.
The will is above board. Gachagua defends validity of his late brother Nyeri to Gachagua's will, dismissing claims that the document was doctored. Stop Stealing Youth Civic Program. Church leaders warn politicians interfering with youth voter listing, even as IBC announces enhanced voter registration countrywide. Yulan Zale joins us as our sign language interpreter. We begin, as I mentioned earlier, the bulletin on a sad note, as 15 people have lost their lives in a grisly road accident along the Nyeri Mwega Road near Kimathi University. The accident between a 14-seater public service vehicle and a lorry is reported to have happened when the driver of the lorry carrying firewood swerved to avoid hitting a cyclist and instead rammed into the matatu traveling from Nyeri town to Mwega. As we'll hear now from Mary Mwoki, survivors have been rushed to the Nyeri County Referral Hospital in critical condition.
This is the gruesome accident scene that claimed 15 lives along the Nyeri Mwega Road. Passengers traveling from Nyeri to Mwega on a PSV matatu belonging to Nyekicha Sacco had their journey unceremoniously halted at this spot when the vehicle they were traveling in collided head-on with this lorry carrying firewood, which was headed in the opposite direction. This is the horrific aftermath. Blood, twisted metal, broken limbs and lives cut short in a split second. Eyewitnesses say the driver of the lorry was swerving to avoid hitting a cyclist on the road when he lost control of the vehicle and hit the PSV.
Kufika hapa nikapata hali si mzuri sana. Ikabidi tusaidie kwenye tungeweza. Tumesaidia kwenye tungeweza kama kutoa hizo kuni kwa hiyo lori ili watu wenye walikuwa wamelaliwa waweze kuondolewa.
Alikuwa anatoka mmoja wale walikuwa naendesha baisikeli akitoa mtu mwangalifu kwa barabara, hii ajali yote haiketokea. Sasa watu wamepoteza, watu wengi wamekufa, mafamilia hapa wameenda.
Regional Traffic Commandant Elizabeth Vivi says police have launched investigations to gather more details into the fatal crash, while those injured have been rushed to the Nyeri County Referral Hospital in critical condition. Vivi says the identification exercise for all victims is underway, even as she urged motorists and road users to be extra vigilant on the roads.
10 males succumbed on arrival to Nyeri Provincial General Hospital. One juvenile also succumbed the accident, bringing a total of 15 fatalities so far.
The exact number of passengers aboard the ill-fated matatu is yet to be established. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
What a tragic loss of life. Church leaders have warned politicians to keep off the youth-driven voter listing initiative dubbed Niko Kadi. The civic program is being used by the Gen Z to encourage their peers to list as voters. This as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, announces an enhanced voter registration program which will see the voter registrations moved to universities and wards to enlist an additional 2.5 million new voters. Willie Lusige with that report.
As the Youth Friends initiative dubbed Niko Kadi gathers momentum, religious leaders claim there's a plot by certain politicians to hijack the ongoing Gen Z-led Niko Kadi initiative, which is being used by young people to mobilize their peers to register as voters and call on political class to keep off.
Gen Z, who refused to vote in the last general election, and they told us the election is a farce, the election is stolen, the deep state narratives and so on, aligns very well with the Niko Kadi initiative. This is a movement asking men a very critical question. Bro, are you present? Are you accountable?
Religious leaders have urged young people to continue with the initiative and not to allow politicians to interfere.
And the best thing to do is to know yourself. How do you know yourself? Because if you don't know yourself, then anything that people tells you, you tend to believe.
David encouraged himself. Where others saw a giant too big to defeat, what did David see? A target too big to miss. You must have that heart of a soldier.
Kiharu, Member of Parliament who attended the youth forum, also encouraged the youth to register and participate in defining the country's political destiny come 2027.
The people in government are trying to associate themselves with this program that is coming out from the young people of Kenya so that they sabotage it. And I want to tell them it will not be possible to sabotage the Niko Kadi program ya vijana wa Kenya. It must be let to run organically. And the young people of Kenya, don't be distracted.
And with 17 months remaining before the next presidential election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is targeting to register more than 2.5 million voters through the enhanced continuous voter registration beginning on Monday, 30th of March. IEBC says that for the first time, voter registration services will be taken to the grassroots in every area, including universities and other higher learning institutions across the country, Huduma centers, IEBC offices, and various registration points in every ward.
That one was just scanning.
IEBC has already hired 10,780 officials to conduct the exercise. The commission also has 5,390 kits that will be used nationwide to register voters. Each ward will receive 3 kits, while universities and higher learning institutions have been allocated 145 kits. The registration will, however, not take place in constituencies expecting by-elections or those with court cases challenging previous election results. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV.
Former Deputy President Gachagua now says the renewed push for an examination of the will of his late brother, Gachagua, is politically instigated. In a letter to the president, the first wife of the late governor and her 4 children accuse a, quote, brother to the deceased of defrauding the estate of the late governor. Gachagua, however, says all beneficiaries, as listed by his late brother, have been accorded their fair share, dismissing the appeal by the first family as fishy and meant to malign his name. Ayub Abdikadir stays on that story.
A day after the family of the late Nyeri Governor Gachagua made an appeal to President William Ruto seeking an examination of his will and flagging inconsistencies, his brother Rigathi Gachagua, in staging a robust defense for its authenticity, has downplayed the intent behind the push for the scrutiny that sought the attention of the president.
If they wanted to challenge the will, they should have challenged it then. They didn't. And they were given the opportunity in court before a judge. If they want to go to court, they go back to court. The window for appeal is over. Number two, they did not dispute at that time. The matter is closed. They're just playing politics.
In response to his sister-in-law, Margaret Nyokabi Gachagua, and his 4 nieces, the former deputy president questioned the grievances listed by the family as unfounded and meant to undercut him politically.
The Gachagua family has never fought in court. His will was the best. He made sure he took care of everybody. There is nobody who has ever complained. And you have never seen our issues in the newspapers. Anytime you have heard about the Gachagua, it is from the politicians.
The DCP leader who succeeded his late brother as Madeira constituency lawmaker in 2017 says all beneficiaries listed by his late brother got their fair share.
And you are given the go-ahead to execute the will that was left by Gachagua. And the instructions were clear. Sell everything. I don't want to give anything to anybody. Sell everything. Pay my debts. The balance, distribute to the beneficiaries in accordance with the will.
Sasa tumetengeneza Operation Fagia.
In Kirinyaga County, Gachagua also brought up the matter, accusing President William Ruto of meddling in the affairs of his family.
Alijaribu kugawanya mulima, nikamkataza. Sasa ameshindwa kugawanya mulima, anafikiria atagawanya familia ya Gachagua.
His rejoinder comes a day after the late Gachagua's first family sought the ear of the president through the Attorney General, calling for a re-evaluation of the will, which they claimed was doctored and manipulated, subjecting them to years of profound suffering and injustice. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
4 more suspects have been arrested in connection to the 33 bodies exhumed from Makaburini Cemetery in Kericho County, bringing the number of those behind bars to 6. Confirming the arrest, the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, who was in Kericho, said there is possible collusion between Nyamira County officials and the caretaker of Makaburini Cemetery. A post-mortem conducted on the bodies confirmed that 5 out of the 33 had serious head injuries. Gata Tenjoroge has the latest.
A day after the completion of the autopsy exercise on 33 bodies found in a mass grave at Makaburini Cemetery in Kericho County, 4 more suspects have been arrested in connection with the discovery.
The people who are responsible, some of whom have already been arrested, will face the full force of the law, and about 6 people have been arrested so far, and investigations are ongoing. Once investigations are complete, I will make an official statement on this issue.
Among those in police custody are David Araka Makori, the medical superintendent Nyamira County Referral Hospital, Richard Towet, the cemetery caretaker, a mortician from the hospital, and 3 others. Murkomen says preliminary findings indicate a possible collusion between Nyamira health officials and the cemetery caretaker.
It was not supposed to happen in darkness, and the county government of Nyamira, especially the one in charge of that referral facility, unfortunately organized in a clandestine manner a burial that happened here in Kericho in a private cemetery owned by NCCK, and in unholy hours, and disposed in an improper manner because it was being done in a clandestine manner, possibly because there was monetary gain.
Utuondolee hiyo jina mbaya. Hakikisha uchunguzi umefanyika na wale ambao wanaendesha ile facility wawajibike na waseme ni nani walikuwa wameruhusu kuweka miili ya watu pale ili watu wa Kericho jina yao ibakie ikiwa safi.
The post-mortem revealed that 4 children and 1 adult died from severe head injuries consistent with blunt force trauma. Out of the 33 bodies exhumed, 25 were children and 8 adults. Another concern is the fact that the hospital acquired a court order to dispose of 13 bodies, but ended up disposing 33 bodies. The 4 suspects are expected in court next week, even as homicide detectives pursue more suspects in connection with the discovery. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Now, in a report linked to a conversation this evening on the price Kenya is paying for the war in Iran, the shortage of fertilizer in Kenya's bread basket, triggered by war in Iran, is threatening the country's food security as farmers face a delayed planting season. Some farmers are now being forced to purchase fertilizer from private vendors at exorbitant prices and replow weed-infested farms as they wait for subsidized fertilizer. As you'll hear now from Brenda Wanga, the government is assuring them that 1 million bags of fertilizer is now in the country ready for distribution.
It is the planting season here in Trans Nzoia County. Many farmers had prepared their farms ready to put the seed into the soil and ensure the country's food security this season. But for farmers like Grace Sitiene, that preparation has now gone to waste. Where maize should have been growing, weeds now reign supreme.
Tumelima shamba, lakini mbolea tujapata. Sijui tutangoja mpaka siku gani sasa ndio tupate kupanda.
Tulikuwa tukilima na 3,000, lakini wakati huu ni 4,000 kwa eka moja. Kuriblau ni 4,000. Tena sasa cost of production iko juu.
Where the seeds are ready and the earth has been tilled, a key component in the food production chain is missing. The government's subsidized fertilizer is yet to be found in the NCPB stores in the region. For weeks now, farmers have been camping outside the depots, waiting, hoping that the much-awaited fertilizer will be found. But each visit has left them dejected as they are forced to go back empty-handed.
Unalazimishwa uchukue mbolea yenyewe hautaki. Kwa nini tupandie mbolea yenyewe haifanyi vizuri hapa Trans Nzoia? Na si Trans Nzoia hapa ndio tunakuza mahindi ya kulisha Kenya nzima na hata nchi zingine.
Unapewa karatasi mwezi wa 12, unaambiwa uende depot kwenda chukua mbolea yako. Maajabu ya Musa, tunapofika hapa tunaambiwa hakuna mbolea.
The government admits to the shortage of the fertilizers. Agriculture PS Paul Rono lays the blame for the delay in availing the fertilizer at the doorstep of the ongoing war in the Middle East. He, however, assures farmers that a shipment of 1 million bags of fertilizer is now docked at the Kenyan coast.
Tunataka sasa kutoa hizo mbolea tupeleke kwa wakulima. So utaona we are flacking off 100,000 lorries pamoja na trains ilete hizo mbolea haraka sana, karibu 1,000,000 bags kusambazwa Kenya mzima.
But as they wait for the offloading and distribution of the fertilizers, the farmers are hopeful that the commodity will get to them before the rainy season terminates and save their planting season. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
President William Ruto has slammed politicians spreading a negative image of Kenya, accusing them of portraying the country as troubled while ignoring the development progress his government is making. Speaking during the 19th conference of Kenyan ambassadors worldwide, Ruto urged envoys to take the lead in defending the country's image and marketing the country as a suitable investment destination. Melito Letenges has more.
President William Ruto has taken a firm stand against leaders he says are damaging the country's reputation by misrepresenting the reality on the ground. As the political heat in the country continues to rise, Ruto has called on Kenyans to put patriotism first.
We need a much more patriotic nation. Good people. We need to believe in ourselves. You know, you listen to some people, you think they have a spare country.
The president also took a swipe at the opposition for branding Kenya negatively in political forums.
You listen to some of our leaders, and some others have even the audacity to say, oh, you know, we are a failed state. Really? Where? You know? And you want to be a leader in this country. You want to be a leader of a failed state. Anyway.
He says critics of his government are now growing silent as his administration's achievements come to bear.
There are people who are saying nothing is happening in Kenya. Today, their voices are going down because they can see something is happening in our country. And we will continue to push the limits, and I will continue to lead from the front.
The president, who spoke during the 19th conference of Kenyan ambassadors, urged diplomats to champion the country's image and help attract investment opportunities.
Please project the right image of our nation. You know, let's get the right image of Kenya. Kenya is not about chaos. Kenya is not about destruction. Kenya is not about all those other things. We are a serious nation. And the chair of the G7 this year is going to be France. And they have invited Kenya to speak on behalf of this continent.
The president also highlighted inadequate electricity supply as a key challenge to investment, stressing the need for increased power generation. Melita Olitenges, Citizen TV.
Back to the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, who has renewed his push for the presidency, saying he will be on the ballot to square it out with President William Ruto come 2027. Speaking in Kirinyaga County, Gachagua says President William Ruto failed in delivering the promises of Kenya Kwanza. Gachagua and his allies are also appealing to the youth to register in large numbers and participate in the next general election. Francis Mtalaki has that report.
Former Deputy President was back in the mountain on a tour of Kirinyaga County, popularizing his party, Democracy for Citizens Party, DCP. Gachagua, who is contesting his impeachment, now says he will vie for presidency to unseat President William Ruto.
Mimi nitapigania kiti ya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Mtaniunga mkono. Mtaniunga mkono.
According to the former Deputy President, President Ruto has failed in delivering the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and that he is ready to lead the united opposition and ask the Mount Kenya region to remain united. Gachagua says once given the mandate, the united opposition will end corruption and deliver free education back to Kenyans.
Nikipata nafasi nikuwe rais wa 6 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Jambo la kwanza nitarudisha masomo bila malipo ya shule ya msingi tulipewa na Rais Mwai Kibaki. Jambo la pili, masomo ya shule ya upili ya shule ya day tulipewa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, nitalegesha masomo ya day secondary school bila malipo. Ya tatu, mambo ya linda mama tulipewa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta ya kusaidia wamama wakijifungua, nitalegesha.
Gachagua is also blaming the government for rising cases of illicit brew consumption in the Mount Kenya region. The former deputy president and his allies are also urging the youth in the Mount Kenya region to register in large numbers and participate in the upcoming general elections.
Mimi nikapigana, nikamaliza pombe haramu. Lakini huyu mtu naitwa Soprano akatumiwa na Kasongo, akasabaratisha juhudi zangu za kumaliza pombe haramu. Pombe ikarudi inaendelea kuua watu wetu.
Mko kadi, wacha nione wale watu wako kadi, wako kadi. Rigidi wako kadi, Kamau Morango wako kadi, Madenge wako kadi.
Gachagua is expected to wind up his tour of Kirinyaga on Sunday. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV.
The High Court has stepped into the escalating battle for control of the Nairobi Hospital, issuing a sweeping conservatory order that bars the government from arresting or prosecuting the facility's top leadership. The order, issued by Justice Bahati Mwamuye on March the 27th, 2026, serves as a significant legal shield for Buckley Onyambu, Dr. Magdalene Modhoka, and 5 other petitioners. It specifically restrains the head of public service, Felix Koskei, and the State Law Office from taking any action that would alter the hospital's current directorship or management structure, at least until April the 10th of 2026. The saga has seen a flurry of criminal charges over the last month, which the defense argues are trumped up to facilitate a hostile takeover. We take a break on Citizen Weekend, but you don't want to go too far because we will get into that conversation on the price that Kenya is paying for the war in Iran. And we will be joined by an eminent panel. We have Patrick Obath, Kwame Owino, as well as Churchill Ogutu waiting in the wings. Stay tuned. On our weekend show tonight, the cost of war on Iran on Kenya.
Sometimes dirt can give us something back. That's why I use new Omo. With naturally derived stain removers, it penetrates deep to reach the toughest stains for unbeatable stain removal.
And we need 2 Royco cubes because iron gives you strength to skuma yourself to be the best you can be.
Try the new Royco Chili Cube for the perfect heat.
Some kids are just a step ahead. The winning difference? A spoonful of Blue Band. The only one with the right levels of omega-3 and 6. Blue Band. A spoonful of difference.
Kumagaraine yake ni Makia Mount Kenya. Raha Premium Kavagara na Raha Premium Gano ndio kibuku yao. Emelok nanana nelelek iyara talale. Nikanoru kandi kijira niveni zinguru. Anela takage kana na nkero kerenja sietu. Igun agenge en member Kavagara Club.
Every city has a place where its story comes to life. Set in Africa's safest city, Kigali Paramount Hotel welcomes you with comfort and ease. Rooms opening to stunning views of Kigali's skyline. With exclusive view travel rates from $70 per person sharing or $120 for a single room. Relax at the spa, pool, gym, or at the lounge as you sip and dine, with every detail designed for your comfort. Explore Kigali's vibrant culture just moments away. Whether for business or leisure, everything you need is right here. Book your stay with View Travel.
This Sunday at International Christian Center, Nairobi.
As we go through life, many of us, we seek after many things. We chase after money. Some of us chase after relationships. But Jesus declares, I am the bread of life. Only He can satisfy the hunger that's within us.
Live on Citizen TV Gospel Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Thank you for staying with us, and we get into the conversation now on the Iran war, the price that Kenya is paying. There are concerns around fuel shortages, for instance. Let's take a look at where our fuel comes from. It comes from Saudi and the UAE, and that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently disrupted by the US-Israel-Iran war, and that has impacted surrounding Gulf states. So there we have it, Saudi Aramco, Abu Dhabi National Oil, Emirates National Oil, and that is where we get our fuel supplies. as of April 2023, following a government-to-government arrangement. The sectors that have raised the alarm on the impact on Kenya's exports, we have the tea sector, horticulture, which includes our flowers, as well as the meat exports have also been impacted to the tune of millions of US dollars. We've been carrying those stories for you. We saw an airline just this week say the rise in the cost of fuel will be reflected in their pricing. And joining me to take this conversation forward, we are joined by Patrick Obath, who is not only the chair of the KEPSA Foundation, he's also the vice chair of the International Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we also have with us in studio Churchill Ogutu, who is, for those who are not aware, an economist, IC Group.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And we have joining us virtually the CEO of IEA, Institute of Economic Affairs, Kwame Owino. Thank you for joining us, Kwame.
Thank you.
All right. I will start with you, Mr. Obath. Patrick, if you'll allow me.
Patrick, yeah, call me Patrick.
All right.
It's easier.
Okay. How worried should we be? Because from my reading, 20% of the globe's oil and gas passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says those who are doing legitimate business are free to pass, but there is some concern that they may get hit. So how concerned should we be? How big of a crisis should we anticipate?
I think the first thing, as you said quite rightly, 20% of the world's consumption goes through the Straits of Hormuz. And it's two sets of products. One is product and the other is crude, right? Now, the first thing that happens is, will happen for us in Kenya, is that we've got a concentration risk. The three contracts that we have for fuel are both within the Straits of Hormuz, right? And we have three main companies that, as you said, is ENOC, ADNOC, and Saudi Aramco. Now, the one that is most affected, actually, is basically ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, because they have to go through the Straits of Hormuz. Saudi Aramco, whilst a lot of their products goes through the Strait of Hormuz, they also have a pipeline from Ras Tanura, from Al Jubail, which is on one side, to Ras Tanura on the other side. So they can actually take product to the Red Sea, and then it comes out that way. And the biggest the biggest product they send to Kenya is diesel. And that is probably the biggest consumed product here as well. Runs industries, agriculture, you name it, the works, yeah? So that has got an alternative route. Jet, which is for planes and for kerosene, which we don't use that much in the homes, basically comes from ENOC, which is the Emirates. But that one is outside the Strait of Hormuz, right? So the biggest exposure we have is on gasoline, right? But now, if you take the developments that might happen, is that a lot of the product that is coming here has got about 3 or 4 months, or 3 or 4 weeks lead time. So we're not going to see any effect, right, until 4 weeks of the war, 5 weeks, which is about now, right, is when you're going to start seeing issues arising, right? But the kind of contracts that exist between us and those organizations is of supply, right? So they will have to find product from somewhere else. So there's the other 80% that is sitting around somewhere in the world. Now, that 80%, I think, is gradually beginning to find its way into other places and also to Kenya.
Okay.
So it means that we will be getting product, not from the Middle East, at the price. Yeah? We are going to get it from Singapore. It's going to come from Nigeria, from Europe, from the US. So it's going to come from other places. So what that will do, it will place a big premium, a big cost on it.
Okay.
So the first shock we're going to get, there'll be a slight drop in supply. So you'll have limited rationing, yeah, if the timing is not quite right. And then the products will begin to arrive again as other people also begin to sort of reduce the amount of oil they're using. So the 20% will not really hit the world that much. But the prices are going to be the next crisis. So now prices will begin to rise.
Okay.
As we go to that. And it's not just the issue of supply because of the restriction of supply, but also the route from where the oil comes from. So you can imagine from Middle East, no problem. Singapore, you get about double the price because of shipping. And then you get it from Nigeria or from Europe, same thing. So that is going to be the sequence it's going to hit us. But I do not think we are going to get a shortage of supply.
Okay.
Right?
All right. I'm coming to you, Churchill, but quickly, Kwame, I was reading a newspaper article this week, and the journalist who penned it said this will be the biggest crisis, economic crisis that we will face as a country, perhaps as the globe, you will tell us, after the COVID pandemic. How serious an impact do you think that war in Iran will have on Kenya?
Okay.
You can go ahead. I can hear you.
All right. Well, I think this crisis depends on the timing. I mean, especially because obviously Kenya had some storage, but also in the sense that the duration of the war is going to determine the severity of the crisis. So we've passed what we at the IEA thought was the first phase, which is basically a 2 weeks war or less, which measures, according to last year's war between the same three countries, in which it ended after 12 days. And obviously the disruption was there, but it wasn't as risky. I mean, it was not extended. So in the second phase, which will go between now and we hope not more than 10 or 12 weeks, if that happens, then we'll enter the third phase, which will be serious. In our view, because oil, petroleum generally, is a global product. And so regardless of which part of the world has a shock, those prices ripple everywhere. If it goes beyond that and it's an extended war, yes, the possibility of tipping the entire world or most of the world into a recession is almost guaranteed. Well, let me say a higher percent will be elevated, risks will be elevated, but especially for countries such as Kenya, which are dependent on global supply and also on, are importers of all the energy, petroleum energy that is consumed and used within. So yes, that's going to be serious, but it just depends on that price range. We've entered the middle phase, which is really, really serious, and that's why everybody's crossing their fingers that whatever happens, the debts aside, I think this needs to stop. Whoever is capable of whatever diplomatic mechanism is necessary, I think this needs to stop quicker, sooner than later, because it's already had some effects that cannot be undone.
All right.
Quickly.
And I'll come to you now, Churchill. What would be the knock-on effects of an increase in the cost of fuel on the economy?
Thanks, Olive. So we're looking at the April review, because that's when we could start seeing the effects of higher pump prices. And it's not just the crude oil, as Patrick has mentioned. We have the crude, that's the oil in its raw form, but also we have the refined products. If you look at the price of crude right now, it's jumped by around 67% from where they were a month ago, from $60 per barrel, near it's over $100 per barrel. But we haven't even looked at the refined products, because we import the refined product. The price increment could even be higher than what you're talking about in terms of the crude. Possibly not, or that could be the case. So from that, it has an impact even in the transport prices, because the price of fares will jump. The price of the ex-pump price obviously will be quite high, so that means that even the road transport will be quite expensive. So that's pretty much the first order impact from the higher fuel prices. But then also there's also the second order effect of that, where we have also the food prices starting to go higher because of the fact that they rely heavily on transportation or fuel prices being part of the input costs into the food prices. So that so there'll be we are also monitoring how the second order effect will be. But also as it has been mentioned as by Kwame, the duration of the war, the intensity of the war. So it's still highly uncertain, and that is something that also people are keeping a monitor on how it will go. But that said, also from the supply side, by the supply side, it means now the production and also the delivery of this commodity. So that's the supply side. But also you can flip it and look at the demand side. So demand side is now how the consumers behave as prices of fuel go higher, as the transport prices go higher, and everything else. So there's also the probably expectations. I expect that, okay, as prices, as the fuel pump price will go high in the next month, it will also go higher in the next month, like that. So it feeds into the expectations. Rather than consuming right now, I'll sort of save right now and consume less and save more. And that is now what we're talking about on the demand side. And it has implications even in the growth side. So as the earlier question was, or if you sort of compare with how COVID was, it was both a supply shock, as you can imagine, production was constrained, and also at the same time it was a demand shock in the sense that consumption reduced, wages was curtailed, people had their... So it has some resemblance, or probably it will have some resemblance with how the COVID pandemic was. But as it is right now, it's still highly uncertain, but the first order effects, second order effects are still monitored, but also just keeping an eye on whether it will have a negative impact on the demand side.
So you're saying we wait and see what the severity of the situation would be. Yeah. We import, Patrick, mostly, is it Murban, I read? Did I pronounce it correctly?
No. Murban was a crude that we used to have in there, but now we import purely products. So gasoline, diesel, and jet. Those are the three main ones, and LPG gas, on that one. But diesel is the biggest component that we have, and that's going to have a big impact because it's transport and agriculture. And those are the two big things that drive prices in the country. Right? Gasoline, you can stop. There's a lot of stuff that can be done with gasoline, but diesel and jet is the other one, which is basically exports by air, and also tourists arriving, business happening, and so forth. So those three are the key things that might hit us here.
So gasoline is what, the kerosene, or? No,
gasoline is petrol.
Super,
yeah.
Super, super petrol, and then, understood. Yeah. All right, so the president speaking this week acknowledged that the government is looking at alternative options. You named a couple of countries where we could look at, but ultimately it would cost us more than the current arrangement. Perhaps you can walk us through. You know, some of us would just drive into the petrol station and then the pump, and that's it. How, because you talked about this 3 or 4 weeks lead time, right?
Yeah.
So how does this importation of mafuta happen?
What normally happens is that the marketing companies work together and they aggregate their demand, and that is taken into what they call there is a central unit that sort of aggregates that. That is then given to the government, and then they order, and they normally order about 2 months, 3 months ahead. So the cargoes are ordered in advance because the earlier you order, the longer the period you order them, the better the pricing. You get a better pricing. So some of the pricing that we are seeing, that is why you find that EPRA revises their prices every month, because that is now keeping in sync with when the material comes in. Now, so when the order is given, say for May, then it leaves at the time in May. It takes 10 to 14 days from Middle East to come here. Right? When it arrives here, then it is offloaded, and there's normally a queue of ships out there, so it takes another week or so. So make that 3 weeks from the time it was shipped, it's in tank in Kenya. Then now it's got to hit the pipeline and come up country. The pipeline has got a finite capacity. So if you have any shortages anywhere, and if people all of a sudden take a lot of product, the pipeline can only push so much up country. So you'll find this structural shortage that happens where you've got all the product in Mombasa, but you can't get it in other parts of the country. Oil marketing companies, normally what they do, if they find that is the case, they'll take trucks to Mombasa and fill them there and take them straight to the space up country. So that is a distribution system, how it works, right? So by the time a molecule leaves the Middle East to the time it arrives in the petrol station next to you, may take about a month to 5 weeks, right? So now that's why you get this delay in the shock of what is happening, right? So and what you saw happening in Kenya recently, where some oil companies had, the stations were dry, and even now, is that everybody is talking to their neighbor and saying, there's going to be a shortage. So everybody runs to one particular petrol station and they empty everything. That petrol station, in accordance with the normal supply and demand, is not due for another 2 or 3 days to get product because it is based on their regular operation. So people will say that so-and-so is running out of fuel because that station has been dry for 2 days, right? Then they go to the next one and empty that. So you get this run, and there's an artificial shortage created because it's moved from a smooth thing where somebody would probably fill up a quarter of a tank or whatever it is. That day they're going to fill full tank. Everybody does.
All right.
Yeah. So that is why you see that in the initial stages, people are saying there's no fuel. But right now, no problem. The fuel is still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kwame, from where you sit, what could the government do to cushion Kenyans from the price shocks should the cost of fuel indeed, as is indicated, rise?
Okay. If you have an imported product entirely, and it's imported here because obviously it's not available domestically, and people are responding in panic, I think that I don't know that there are no shortcuts. Oil prices are going everywhere, including for countries that produce them. The US itself has had adjustments in the price of oil. So that's a lesson here. But for me, I think it puts at the cracks two things. One, whether the pricing system that we have at the EPRA is working. I don't think so. It's well meant and everything else. It's showing us at this moment because there's going to be a very big adjustment. So that's a first. And then the second one is the tax component. The tax component in taxes is very, in a liter of fuel, especially premium, is very high. And that's going to have a knock-on effect if everything else moves in forward. So it's very, very clear that there's nothing much except to actually give everyone the impression. Will government cut taxes to reduce the cost per liter? I'm not too sure it's willing to do that or even would be able to take that fiscal chance. But the second thing then is, what does that mean? I think to find alternatives is also difficult. So it's not easy when you've already encumbered yourself with a price control mechanism. I know they will not accept it's a price control mechanism. That's precisely what an economics textbook tells you it is, because marketers are not making individual decisions about what their product should cost based on their own mechanics. So I see very little flexibility. I think what we need to see is government of Kenya might not have the diplomatic leverage, but hope that this problem ends much sooner than later. It will save lives everywhere. But at the same time here, it will also make the disruption of supply resume much, much quicker and hope that everything flies in. But I think it calls to question what the utility of that model, where on the 14th of every month we sit back and have somebody think that they're determining what the price is. If they cannot assure supply, I think trying to determine the price is not very wise. So yes, I have no silver bullets here. It's just telling us that the mechanism as it exists today is not efficient.
All right. Before, Churchill, I come to you on the question of exports, because that's something else that has been hit. On the question of oil and gas, the implications of fuel, an increase in the cost of fuel, would we be in a better place if we had stuck with the original way of doing it, the open tender? I read that it happened monthly, right? And it was, as opposed to now this 180-day credit facility where it's G2G, government to government.
The government-to-government deal was not about supply, it was about stability of the foreign exchange. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. Because when everybody was importing their own, they had to buy their own forex. And sometimes that was scarce. So then you'd have these fluctuations, very wild fluctuations in cost. But the reason this came in is so that they get the credit, and that means they can pay over time without spiking and spooking the forex market here. Now, with this current situation, the G2G, the oil price, they cannot control that. That is what comes from wherever it is the oil is coming from. And it is indexed. So you can either have what they call the ADNOC, they have the ADNOC rate, or you can use Platts, whatever it is. There's various elements. And it is indexed on that. But what happened was with the G2G, they were getting a discount because they're buying straight from the trader without a middleman inside. So there was an element of a sort of of a cost reduction as a result of that. But with the prices that are going to happen as this goes up, even the prices that these people are selling at, they're not going to forgo the opportunity to get that premium that everybody's going to give them. So our prices, our base price will go up in time. Mm-hmm. And that is now the 4 weeks, 5 weeks, yeah? That product that had been bought already at that price, by the time you're going to place the next one, your prices are up. right? So if this continues, the 30 days, first 30 days which are nearly coming to the end, we will have very little impact. But the next 30 days, you will probably get an increase of maybe 10 to maybe 5 to 15 shillings a litre. That's the impact it may have in the country.
Okay.
Right? If we go to the next 30 days. 30 days again, you will double, so you'll get up to between 15 and 30 shillings per litre increase. Right? And then beyond that, I dare not speculate.
Okay.
Because you never know what's going to happen. But that's what's going to happen, and that cost will then be passed on through the system, and that's the basic cost of product. Eventually, when it comes here, you'll probably find that because of some of the taxes on a percentage basis, others are fixed, the prices will change in a different way.
All right. Just before we get into exports, what would be your advice, given your expertise, to the Ministry of Energy?
I think to the Ministry of Energy, they need to start getting people prepared for different modes of transport. And if I was sitting there, I'd tell people the first thing we're going to do is to stop gasoline sales to private people and get everybody to go by public means, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in a crisis, you got to have a crisis move, right? And that means that therefore you're reducing consumption by increasing occupation in vehicles. Yeah, because I travel by myself, Churchill will travel by himself, Kwame will travel by himself in the car. But if you say you guys can't go, you have to go in one car and you fill up a car, right? So what they've got to do is to begin to change behavior so that we minimize the demand on fuel. And a lot of countries are doing that already. They're sort of, I think some countries were even crazy enough to sort of say we're going for a 4-day week. So Wednesday is free. People don't go to work. And you're told don't go to work. The other thing that can happen, the government can shut down and say, government, we don't come to work, right? Because the government isn't productive. It is purely administrative, right? So you shut down the government, everybody stays at home, right? And only the people who are producing for the country are the ones who will go to work. So there are different things that can happen, a bit extreme, but we need to cut down consumption, right? The issue of tax and everything else, that's an option the government has as well to reduce the cost on the economy. But for me, it is consumption is a key thing, and we need to sort of find innovative ways of doing that and making sure that the fuel that we get goes to the places that it gives us the best value in terms of stabilizing food prices, production prices, and exports.
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of exports, I'll come to you now, Churchill. Alarm bells have already been rung. The tea sector, horticulture, meat exports have been hit hard by accessibility challenges to the Middle East market. They're calling it the Persian Gulf. Given, for example, the G2G 180 credit facility was meant to stabilize foreign exchange, right, and grow our reserves, how do you think now how do you think these developments will now impact that?
Yeah, for sure. If you look at the export side, agriculture, we have tea being one of the largest agriculture exports. But who are the primary markets that you normally export our tea? It's largely Pakistan and Egypt. It's still easier to send our products to those markets. We have a bit of our markets within the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC countries, but it's not as significant as what we have between these two countries, which is slightly over a half of our tea exports. If you look at the floriculture, this is now the flowers, is primarily a European market. So probably we may not even rely in terms of the distribution across the Strait of Hormuz. We'll just have them still flying from Kenya Airways probably to the European market. So it's pretty much insulated. So probably the impact will be on the meat because most of the meat exports goes to the Gulf countries. So that will be a big hit. But if you sort of expand this conversation, because that's primarily on the goods exports, we also have the imports. Obviously, we have fuel disruptions, fertilizer. One of the news stories spoke about fertilizer disruptions because of the logistics around that. So, but that's pretty much on the mechanized goods segment. And if you look at the whole current account balance, so that's the first one, mechanized goods. There's some impact in varied measures around that. But also we have now the services. whereby we have tourism coming in. Largely, tourists rely on the Middle Eastern carriers. There's a bit of some grounding of the airline. So probably may not see tourists as much as we would have expected. That's another hit. The other aspect is now on the primary income. That's now how Kenya now services its debt interest payment, external interest payment. So that's still, we still have to service those ones. And finally, we have diaspora remittance, or part of the secondary income. And that's also 9% of the diaspora remittances come from the Gulf countries. This is the data as of February 2026. So obviously, we may get lower receipts from the diaspora remittance. It just takes one to walk into Doha International Airport just to find lots of Kenyans working over there. And probably as all this continues for a long time, we may not see the receipts coming in. So collectively, these four items, the goods balance, the services trade, the primary income, the secondary income, collectively is what we call the current account balance. We are in a deficit as a country. We normally talk about current account deficit. But then if you flip it, it has to be financed one way or another. We expect money coming in either in form of foreign direct investments, not as much, I think around $500 million, they're about $1 billion, thereabouts. But also we have now portfolio inflows coming in, either investors investing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, or even the taking up of some of the external debt, be it in the form of Eurobonds or some of this. So in this financing year, we expect, I think, $1 billion to come from the GCC. In as much as all this noise is happening, it's a bonus to some of these countries, because take any of the Gulf countries, their surplus, or because they fund their budgets largely from oil exports. So at the price that they are exporting, if they can figure a way of distributing the oil to other countries, they'll still be sitting in surpluses. So they can still continue financing us. So from a foreign exchange earnings perspective, I don't think we'll have a hit. As it is right now, we are at $14 billion, which can cover us for the next 6 months. And if we sort of compare with where we were when the COVID-19 impact hit Kenya, we are badly off. I think we are, $3 billion, $6 billion thereabouts. So it was quite low, at a low buffer. Those were low buffers as compared to where we are right now. So comparing where we were then vis-a-vis now, at least right now we are better off. So at least we can ride the storm for a significant period, unless now this becomes a protracted issue. That's when probably the issues are. But just going back, exports, I think pretty much the main exports that we produce, tea, floriculture, the markets that we produce to, we can just find our way around without going through the most volatile parts of this war.
Okay. Unfortunately, Kwame, time has caught up with us. Unless there's something very pressing you'd like to add to that?
Yes, the only thing I'd like to add is by no means should the government try to restrict what people can buy. We're deciding that, look, private cars do this and that. There's hardly enough public transportation for each of us to step into a matatu if that happens. The best way to do it is allow the price to determine, hope that the war resolves itself, and have people decide whether they want to walk. But if the government decides that, to deny one or the other, that would end up in court very, very quickly, and I think government would lose. So I think a little bit more thinking around how to resolve this question is much more useful than trying to restrict freedoms.
All right.
But let's hope it resolves quickly. Thank you.
All right. I hope so as well. That is Kwame Wino, who is the CEO of the Institute of Economic Affairs. We've also had Patrick Obath, who is not only the chair of the KEPSA Foundation, he's also the vice chair of the International Chamber of Commerce. And we've also had in studio Churchill Ogutu, who is an economist, IC Group. We take a break, but Citizen Weekend continues on the other side. And the conversation will be continuing for the next, I hope not too long into the future, but it is a pertinent issue. Stay tuned. Coming up, a family in Gilgil is seeking justice after a 3-year-old pupil dies in mysterious circumstances.
made easier. Food, soap, everyday essentials, trusted products, friendly prices, real savings. Order now on Citizen Duka app, visit citizenduka.com or WhatsApp us on 0710 487 487.
Love your home, love your wallet.
Citizen Duka, your home of discounts.
Citizen Duka, the home of discounts.
For 50 years, Tower Sacco has been a pillar of trust, now serving over 350,000 members in Kenya and abroad. With 31 branches across 9 counties and a dedicated diaspora unit, we bring financial freedom to your doorstep. From smart savers to mortgage and asset finance of up to 100%, we tailor-make solutions that turn your dreams into reality and add value to your investment. Visit us or call 0792 333 111.
Your mother's love is with you wherever you go. It starts with little moments of courage, to stepping out into the new world with confidence. Stay soft. Nothing lasts like mom's love.
Angamiza nyasi na magugu haraka na Thrasher 630 SE, dawa ya magugu ya mahindi inayoweza kutumika wakati wowote wa ukuaji wa magugu makubwa au madogo. Thrasher 630 SE inapenya na kufanya kazi kimfumo ikiingia ndani ya mmea kwa matokeo yanayoonekana. Lita moja tu kwa ekari husafisha shamba lako msimu mzima wa mahindi na kuifanya mojawapo ya dawa za magugu ya mahindi bora na ya gharama nafuu zaidi barani Afrika. Inapatikana katika maduka makubwa ya Agrovet karibu nawe. Lita moja, ekari moja, msimu mzima.
Wherever you are, we're all part of the same story. We are Broadway's.
Broadway's bread, a heritage of quality, baked with heart since 1958.
For reactions like this, you need something special. That one extra touch that makes everybody go wow. For meals with friends and family, make it memorable with Kiko Man.
My family is blessed. My children are blessed. My job is blessed. No weapon fashioned against my family will prosper. My children will reach their full potential. We will not die before our time. We shall eat the good of the land. We shall prosper. Diseases are not our portion. Good health is our portion. Riches and wealth are our portion. Amen. My family is blessed.
Dial *811 *447# to get My Family is Blessed.
I cannot stay at a place where I'm not wanted. Did it have to take you so long to learn that?
Please, quiet.
Endometriosis affects our daughters, sisters, and friends in silence.
Bath time into an unforgettable adventure with sour, long-lasting bath soap.
Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Weekend. Tonight, Gilgil Hill Schools is on the spot after a 3-year-old playgroup pupil died under mysterious circumstances while within the school. The family of Faiz Faraji says they received a strange call from the school alerting them that their child had been rushed to hospital. However, the information was not clear on what could have happened. As you'll hear now from Franklin Wala, an autopsy has since confirmed that the pupil died from a lack of oxygen, possibly as a result of drowning, raising questions on how the minor drowned while under the school's custody.
Chaotic scenes at Gilgil sub-county mortuary in Nakuru. This as family and friends of the late Faiz Faraji try to come to terms with the harsh reality of the minor's sudden death. The 3-year-old playgroup pupil died under mysterious circumstances while within Gilgil Hill School in Nakuru. The drama continued as his family confronted teachers at the morgue during the autopsy, demanding answers of events before and after the minor died when he was under the school's custody. The family is disputing results of the autopsy conducted by pathologist Titus Ngulungu, which confirmed Faiz died as a result of drowning. The information contradicting what the family was told from the school.
The first call we received from the class teacher. Akatuambia ati mtoto amepelekwa hosi akiwa mgonjwa. Ati ako na fever.
Mtoto aliingia hapa fish pond aje. Na kama aliingia hiyo place aliingia na wapi? Alinyamaza. Na nikamuuliza basi kama wewe ndio ulimrescue kwa hii maji or principal, mlitoa na side gani? Hapo kila mtu ananyamaza.
The family says Faiz left home on Friday morning in high spirits and was expected back. Unfortunately, the news has left them devastated.
To be able to try and resuscitate the boy, and later on we were able to transfer the boy to the Gilgil Sub-County Hospital with the hope that there was a little thread of life and that his life could be rescued. But we lost him.
Even though the minor has since been buried, the family is still demanding an explanation from the school's management on what really happened before their child drowned while within the school, as they urge the DCI's homicide team to take up investigation and unfold the truths. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Stakeholders in the education sector are now calling for urgent funding of basic education to ensure equal opportunities for learners under the competency-based education system. This follows revelations that learners with visual impairments are yet to receive customized grade 10 textbooks one term into the school calendar. Laura Otieno reports on the growing CBC divide and how delayed government payments are impacting learners with special needs.
8 a.m. Friday, the rhythm of an English lesson pierces through the morning mist. At Kibos Senior School, such rhymes are part of everyday learning. But beneath the energy and enthusiasm, a quiet concern lingers. For nearly half the class, the words in the textbooks are barely legible.
We should be in topic 5, but we are still in topic 1. Because now that process of trying to improvise learning makes us to go slower.
Instead of braille and large print textbooks, Kibos Special Senior School received standard books as placeholders.
Averagely, it should be 5 copies per subject. Yes, against an average of 30 learners or 40 learners per classes. Because the assumption is at one point we have to receive braille books and the large print books.
In a statement to Citizen TV, KICD acknowledged delays in printing and distributing braille and large print textbooks, citing pending bills owed to publishers. CEO Professor Charles Ongondo says the adoption process is ongoing, with books expected in schools by May. But fresh revelations by Education PS Julius Bitok of a 7.7 billion shillings debt to publishers is raising fears that already vulnerable learners could be left further behind.
The government must plan for this generation by ensuring that enough money is allocated not only for their resources but also for the transition. It is this generation that will be creating employment.
With mounting debts and delayed supplies, learners here are holding on to hope. As teachers continue to improvise, the clock is ticking. What was envisioned as a holistic model of learning is slowly but surely leaving some learners behind as they wait for government action. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
All right, we have received a reaction now from the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, to our top story tonight on the loss of 15 lives in Nyeri County. And he says he's, of course, saddened by the reports of the loss of life and sent thoughts and prayers to those who are bereaved, but also asked drivers to observe safety precautions anytime you are on the road. The Deputy President says, remember your own life, the lives of your passengers, and those of other road users are in your hands. We take a break on Citizen Weekend, but on the other side, Emmanuel.
Yes, we have some sports news. We have Kenya Premier League action, we have Shujaa in Brazil, and we have the Africa Wheelchair Basketball Championships as well. So that and more to come after the break.
Stay tuned.
Dark marks, I took them. From that to this.
New Glycolic Bright Anti-Dark Mark Serum by L'Oreal Paris. Now with Melisol, our strongest anti-dark mark active molecule. Visibly reduces 86% of dark marks for an even tone glow, effective on all skin tones. New Glycolic Bright Anti-Dark Mark Serum.
Go worth it.
Jitreat na Cadbury Kachoku leo size ya mfuko kwa recommended price ya mbao au 40.
Wherever you are, we're all part of the same story. We are Broadway's.
Broadway's bread, a heritage of quality, baked with heart since 1958.
Take advantage of our own collection offer and get additional discounts when you pick up your order from Royal Mabati Factory Limited, corrugated and box profile at 353 shillings per meter, brick tile and Roman tile at 370 shillings per meter. Free delivery is still available, but own collection means bigger savings, and you get your Mabati within 2 hours. Call us now on 0722 638383. Stand a chance to win playful prizes. See details in store. T's and C's apply.
From the outside, it is this structure that bears the scales of a 62-year-old nation.
This one is Kipande system, a container that was used to keep the identification and traveling documents of Africans.
We have migrated archives there. The ones that were repatriated from the UK.
This information can be accessed upon requisition. The only information that can be accessed should have been stored for a minimum of 30 years. These files are stored in vaults located in the basement levels.
Watch this story and more. Download the Citizen Digital app or visit www.citizendigital.com and find the Citizen Originals portal.
Kenya's #1 app, Citizen Digital.
I cannot stay at a place where I'm not wanted. Did it have to take you so long to learn that?
Please, quiet.
Endometriosis affects our daughters, sisters, and friends in silence.
Turn bath time into an unforgettable adventure with Sawa long-lasting bath soap.
Welcome back to the programme. Let's get into the day's sports now. The Harambee Stars have been knocked out of the FIFA Global Series after losing 5-4 on post-match penalties to Estonia at the Amahoro Stadium in Kigali on Friday night. The match ended 1-1 after 90 minutes, with Kenya now set to face Grenada in the third-place playoffs.
First half I was a little bit disappointed because I think we started very lackluster, and but I think as the game went on in the second half we started getting our momentum, and in the second half I just said to the boys, we're not playing with the same desire that I know that we can, and and we just need to be a little bit more movement of the ball.
Domestically now, KCB-FC returned to winning ways with a narrow but vital 1-0 victory over Mara Sugar FC in an FKF Premier League match staged at the Nyayo National Stadium on Saturday. Heading into the match, KCB had struggled for consistency, managing just one win in their previous 5 outings and sitting 9th on the table. The breakthrough came in the 72nd minute when Roland Makati reacted quickest, a rebound inside the box, calmly slotting home to give KCB a crucial lead. The result lifts the Bankers to 8th on the log with 37 points. In other matches, Bandari defeated Bidco 1-0 in Kwale as Poster lost 2-0 to the Kakamega Homeboys. Now, FKF Premier League players have been urged to take up coaching courses in order to inspire the next generation of footballers in the country. This comes as 30 aspiring coaches graduated in Nairobi following a 5-day introductory coaching course conducted by the FKF Nairobi East Branch. Former Sofapaka FC players Titus Achesa and Nixon Omondi were part of the participants in the week-long course.
Sisi kama branch tunajaribu empower makoches wetu wapate knowledge. So wakiweza pata hii knowledge itatusaidia sana kufanya ball yetu develop kwa grassroots.
Tumetoka hapa na a lot of information. Tumetoka hapa very different people. I think sidhani kama tunaona vitu venye tulikuwa tunaiona kabla bado tujasoma course. From the dynamic of player to coach, now vitu ni different sana. Apart from the coaching lessons, pia tumekuwa na life skills.
To rugby now, Kenya Sevens team Shujaa recorded mixed results in the first day of the HSBC Sevens Division 2 of Sao Paulo Sevens in Brazil. Shujaa kicked off on a high note after running over Germany 38-7 in the opening clash. Patrick Odongo and Vincent Onyala scored 2 tries each as George Oro and Dennis Bagged also went over the whitewash. Nigel Amaitsa then slotted in 2 conversions while David Nyagige also slotted the other. In the second match, however, the Kenyans were far from solid, losing narrowly 12-14 to Belgium. They will face Canada later tonight in their third group game. To finish off now, Kenya has launched the Athletes Wellness Club, a new program led by Momentum Sports Africa and the Liaison Group to support athletes' physical health, financial security and retirement planning. The initiative provides comprehensive guidance on managing finances and long-term health, ensuring stable livelihoods after active sports careers.
The gap that we have seen in health protection, wealth protection and long-term saving for our athletes is the reason we have thought it wise to start the Athlete Wellness Club.
This is an activity that we have come here to think about the wellness of our sportsmen and women in our country. There are many times that we don't think beyond the whistle. There are many times we don't think beyond retirement.
It's a great initiative
has come on board. And as athletes, I think this is just a limelight of what the game of sports, basically all disciplines in sports.
Kenya's 5x5 wheelchair men's basketball team lost to a physically imposing Senegal 66-30 on Saturday in Luanda, Angola during the ongoing Africa Wheelchair Basketball Championships. Kenya started on the right note, proving to Africa's number 4 ranked team that they are no pushovers, with Milton Ilahuya making the first score. It was a push and pull battle, but Kenya eventually lost, heading to the last quarter, ending the third one at a distant 26-50. On Sunday, Kenya's men will battle another African giant, Algeria, from 11 a.m. So that is the sports that we had for you today. Olive, I'd like to cast your mind back to the HSBC Sevens 2 tournament we had in Nairobi. Do you remember it?
You know, this is Olive Barres, not Jeff Koinange.
Yeah, my bad. That's for Sunday, right?
Yeah. No, but go ahead.
But it was a big event, right, we had here in Nairobi. So that was the first round of that tournament. We're now in the third round of that, where Kenya is facing off in Sao Paulo. In 1 minute's time, they'll be heading up against Canada to see if they can continue their momentum, right? They lost the last game. What was the score? They lost 14-12, I think. 14-12, I just read. So let's hope that they continue it and then be able to get in the playoffs as well.
When it comes to cheering, I know the assignment. I'm on it.
Yes. Yes.
But it is the weekend, Emmanuel Ndongo.
Absolutely.
And Jeff last week was sold asitumia shengingine junior kitambo atajaibisha. So forgive me for using this one because I know it's old, but form.
What?
What's your plan for the weekend?
Oh, my plan for the weekend? Nothing.
Really?
I'll be here. I'll be on radio tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, okay, working.
Yeah, so that'll be it. What are you gonna? You're gonna be TV, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night. All right, that's it for Citizen Weekend. But we get a bit of a reprieve because we hand over now to Neville on Diaspora Connect.
To bring in the hype,
hosting tonight as well. You know, co-hosting.
Yes. Well, no, I'm not. Okay. I'm not. You know,
you have previously, though.
Yeah, I have once. Not really co-hosting, but I was a guest, and it was actually a lot of fun. Bringing it back to the UK days, you know.
All right. Our very own Mzungu, Emmanuel.
Please, that's you.
I've been your host, Olive Barres, and Yulan Zale has been a sign language interpreter. Have yourself a good night.
Good night.